Welcome back to the Rhinestone Roper Place. Today is our last installment in the Rhinestone Roper Performance Tips series. Today we're dealing with you've already got the show, and this is how to conduct yourself and perform your show on the fairgrounds. Before we get started, go ahead and subscribe and push that little bell next there, and I appreciate it. So let's say that you got the show. Here's some rules I follow on the show. I don't spend any time talking about what I've won or how great I am. My skills are either great or they're not. Either they like me by the time they get done with the show or they don't. Hopefully they do. If there's someone in my show who has the stuff, I talk them up, I tell everything they want. But if I'm the MC in my show, I can't really do that. The other rule is as soon as you're visible to the audience, that's when your show starts. So as much as you can, you want to be set up before the people get there. If you have an assistant, the assistant could be out there making final preparations. And then they start the music. When it's showtime, then you come out. Ta-da! When I first started out, I started out in school assemblies. A guy came to watch me who was going to give me pointers. He worked for National School Assemblies. And I was out there before the show, winning the kids over, doing some tricks, roping some kids. We're having a blast. And he took me aside afterwards and said, "That was great, but don't appear before your show." That first impression is so important. They're going to get used to you before your show even starts. You don't want them used to you. You want them amazed by you through the whole show. If you get quiet, you want them to get quiet so they hear what you're going to say. If you do something abrupt, you want them to pay attention to you. But they won't do that if they're already used to you. So don't waste your first impression. And I keep that in mind all the time. With a fair, I have enough stuff set up. I'm out and about a little bit. But when I'm out there, I have a different attitude. This business, I'm doing this, trying to keep a low profile, and then I disappear, and then the music starts, and then I come out with the showman attitude. And I think that's best. I use audience participation, and I think you should. People like seeing their kids get up there. But my rule is, everyone that comes up on stage is a hero. By the end of their bit, they're a hero. They deserve a round of applause. The kid gets his rope trick right, and they always get it right, whether I have to help them or not. They're a hero. For that part of the show, if I can pick a special needs kid, it's amazing that they can get those rope tricks. They can get them as good as anyone else. You give them the right encouragement and help them, and when those kids succeed, and they almost always do, they're appreciative and happy, and they're the perfect person to be in a show. But the younger kids, special needs kids, and any of these kids, even grandma comes up, spin a rope. People love it. If that person's having a good time, they have a good time. But so everybody gets to be a hero. And that's with the more dangerous stuff too. A lot of the seemingly dangerous stuff have a bait and switch thing, and everyone's in on the joke. It's a joke, but everyone is in on it except for the person who's up there holding the target blindfolded. And my rule is, I know people do those jokes, but I personally suggest that you don't. If there's a misdirection joke, funny joke that's going to be played, then everyone needs to be in on it. The person on stage gets the joke just like the audience does, because the misdirection deal is not a joke on the person, it's more a joke on the audience. The audience thought you're going to do one thing, but it switches, you're going to do something even more dangerous. Oh, that's amazing, and it's funny. But everybody needs to be in on the joke, so everyone gets to leave as a hero. If you're a rope spinner, you're going to find that people are interested in rope spinning for about 5 minutes, and that's it. And I know that's true because I had 6 minutes of rope spinning. It used to be my finale. But you listen to your audience. Your audience tells you what's good, and they tell you how long it's good for. To start with, my show was almost all ropes, and I added whips and then guns and knives and tomahawks and horses. As I added that stuff, I realized that I had the wrong finale. I do everything and then do 6 minutes of roping. The roping wasn't as exciting as the wheel of death knife throwing, and it wasn't exciting as the horse tricks. You could feel it. I do a school assembly that didn't have those things. Boy, the trick roping, especially under black light, they'd be screaming. It'd be great finale, perfect. But on the fairgrounds, no black lights to make the ropes mesmerizing, and to bring a horse out, the horse is more exciting than the ropes were. And the knife throwing was more exciting than everything. So the audience told me what the order of my show is. Now I start with ropes. The music starts, I sing and do rope tricks. That's what gets my crowd, because they can hear me. They can hear me sing, they can hear the music, what's going on over there? They see some action with the whips, or see action with the ropes, and they come. That gets the crowd there, and the goal is to keep those people and keep it building. So your stuff gets more and more exciting or more and more funny, and that noise and commotion brings more and more people in. Once they get there, you need to keep things exciting, because on the fairgrounds they'll leave. At a school assembly, the doors are shut. They can't get up and leave. But you can hear that in that gym. You can hear a little bit of uneasiness. You can feel it before you can hear it, that you're losing them, that what you're doing is too slow. You need to beef that up or just get rid of it. And at the school assembly, you have an opportunity to perk up or do something different to get them back, and you realize that worked. If they start to drift, I can get them back by doing this some of the time. On the fairgrounds, you don't have that chance, because if 5 people come together, sit down in your show, 2 of them want to go get a Coke. 3 of them want to see the show, 2 of them want to leave. As soon as things get slow, you can see them, hey, and they drag them off. They just leave. There's no chance of getting those people back, because they're gone. Hopefully someone will come in and take their place. You listen to your audience. What works, what doesn't, what gets the audience, what loses them, and what your finale is going to be. You do your tricks, you're enjoying your audience. If your focus is on your audience and you're enjoying them, then when someone gets up and leaves, no matter where they are, you notice them. You make a mental note, they left during this part. Now that may mean nothing. Maybe that person had an appointment, they had to get to the car to leave to go home. But if it happens at the same point of the show more than once, then you got to start paying attention to it and ask yourself, why did those people leave? Was it too slow? Was this not interesting? Or did I offend them? There's things I used to do in the show that I had to quit doing because I found myself explaining it in the show. If you're having to explain something, then it's not worth doing. Like I would lay my horse down, I would stand on top of the horse's ribcage and do rope tricks. They go, oh, like you're abusing your horse. So I'd make a joke. For a while I made a joke about it and assured them that it didn't hurt the horse or he wouldn't lay down. But you do that for a while and you realize these people, they're not going to believe you. If you got to get past that initial negative response, then cut that from the show. So I don't do that in the show anymore. And other entertainers, I see them tell jokes that are sexual or sexual innuendo, and they say, oh, don't worry, it went over their heads. Well, if you have to say, don't worry, it went over their heads, then cut it from your show, because it didn't go over their heads. I don't remember any time in my youth when I heard someone say, don't worry, it went over the heads, that I didn't know it was a dirty joke. I may not have understood the dirty joke, but I knew they just said something nasty. And, kids are not stupid. And if you say, don't worry, it went over your heads, that means you're demeaning the kids anyway. You treat everyone with respect. You talk to them like they can understand what you're saying. You don't talk down to anyone. You show everybody respect. You love having everybody in the audience, and you're not going to do anything in the show that those kids can't completely understand and get the benefit of. Actually, we need to cater to those little kids, because they're the key to the teenagers. The adults, especially the gray-haired adults, they're a good audience for us. We remind them of their time in the country before they grew up and got married. We remind them of their grandpa who was a horseman, could throw a rope, could crack a whip. The teenagers don't have that connection to our kind of show. But if you got little kids there and the little kids are having a good time, it's like they give the teenagers permission to relax and have fun also. Plus, if those little kids are not welcome in our show, their parents will take those little kids and they'll leave. And they'll do it on a heartbeat. You say the wrong things, or you bring your guns out. Sometimes those folks will, they'll see the guns, they'll stand up in the middle of your audience, take their kids and walk out. Luckily, so far, someone else sees the guns from a ways away and they come take their place. But, we need to be careful with our stuff and have the right attitude with our guns to keep our audience. But be good to the kids, because they're a key to the grandparents, they're a key to the parents, and they're a key to letting the teenagers relax and have a good time. When you have a show, and this is true wherever you're at, if you want to get hired back, you can be the cowwoman or the cowboy that is take charge and stand up for what makes your show work, and you ask for favors and you tell people they're doing the wrong thing and say, this isn't going to work, this isn't what I agreed to, you need to do this for my show. You can be the type A personality that demands what you think you need. It's easy to slip into the person that complains about everything. These show times are not right. This act needs to be over there. This location is not good. I can't do my show here. There's not going to be enough people in this spot. I need a better spot. It's a balance, and generally I advise against all of that. If you get a spot and it's not a good spot and you go complain, you don't know who had that spot last year. The act who had that spot last year, someone was there. The act who had that spot last year may have had a gigantic audience, had a great time. And you go and complain that you can't get an audience there because it's a bad spot. Well, those fair people know more than you do about how to put on a fair. And as soon as you start telling them how to do their job, you run the risk of just being wrong and looking bad. Even if you're right, you run the risk of being the person that's hard to deal with. You don't want to be the person that's hard to deal with. When someone brings up your name at the booking conventions the next year, someone says, "What do you think about that act?" And you want them to say, he was the easiest person to get along with. She was great. She was on time. She did her job. Nice show. People liked it. You don't want them to add on, a little hard to deal with. Sometimes the fair will ask me what times I want. I say, whatever time works for you. I usually like my shows 1, 3, and 5, or 3, 5, and 7. I don't know when the biggest, I want a time when the biggest crowd's going to be there. And it's nice to have an hour in between, but I can deal with having 2 or 3 hours in between also. Some people like their shows condensed, so they start at 1 o'clock and they're done by 5. That's only 4 or 5 hours of being kind of on demand. Some fairs may need us to go at 10 or 11. That's like 6 in the morning for an entertainer. By the time we get to sleep, take care of the horses, get the last show put away, we may not eat dinner till 11 o'clock or midnight. To do a show at 10 in the morning is like getting up really early. But I never complain about it. Whenever they want the shows is when I do them. If they ask my advice, I'll give it to them. But if they say, these are your show times, and I say, yes, sir, and I'm on time. Sometimes a fair will ask you to do a news promotion. The local news crew wants to come and take some shots of the fair, and they want an entertainer. You don't want to be the entertainer who says, no way, I'm not getting up at 4 in the morning. It's a compliment that they ask you. And if you're the one who gets to go on the news and sell the show, they'll remember that. So I don't care what time they ask me to get up in the morning to do the news spot. I'm up. I do say, it'd be a lot better if the news crew could come to my tent, do their show right here. All my stuff is here. We might use the horse, we can use the wheel, we can do this and that. Sometimes the answer is no, we need you, we'll bring a golf cart. They'll say, we need you at the other side of the fairgrounds at 4:30 in the morning. And my answer to that is, okay, we'll do it. It'd be a lot easier. Can we get a golf cart? Someone come by and pick us up, make sure we're awake. This so we don't have to lug all our crap over there. Now we've established that your show, it starts with a bang. It starts impressive. People have to be drawn into it. You may walk out and your bleachers are already full. That's a great feeling. It's also a great feeling to walk out and there's only one person sitting there. And you come out, boom, you give them a great start, and then more people come. And by the end of the show, you got a full audience. That's even kind of more fun. Start out with nobody and end up with standing room only. That says a lot. It says they didn't know who you were to start with, but it also says you're able to get that crowd. You need to be aware of the size of your audiences, because that's the measure of success on the fairgrounds or in a festival. If it's bad weather or a poorly attended show and you got 30 or 40 in your show, then that may be great. You may be the hero if you had 30 people there because there's no one on the fairgrounds. But if the fairgrounds is full, you want a whole bunch. Now to start with, maybe you're just a natural and you'll have them. You'll have big audiences right to start with. If you don't, you just got to keep doing your show. It doesn't make any difference how many people are out there. The people that are smiling, give your show to those people that are smiling. Have fun with them. Don't focus on the people that are all grouchy looking and sitting looking like, what the hell are you doing? Don't waste your time on those folks. Once they've taken that attitude, you try to get them to smile, they're bound and determined most of the time they're not going to do it. So forget those folks. Play to the people that are having a good time. And maybe those folks will come along. You don't even know why those folks are giving you a sour look. So, yeah, anyway, just ignore those folks. Or if everyone's that way, just kind of play over the top of them. Be aware that you may not see the fair board, and they may be, the person that hired you may never come around, but they probably do. They're drifting past. They can see from a distance. Or if you're working on their stage, nowadays we have our own show tent and my own sound system. We don't use anything from the fair except electricity and water. But if you're on the fair stage and using their sound system, there's probably a sound person back there. Make friends with your sound person, because they're the go-between between you and the fair. They may be reporting to the fair about how you're doing. You want to stay on their good side. Realize that the sound person is probably there selling his sound business. So you probably put too many speakers on your stage. You're in the way. If they're in the way of you doing a good show, you need to talk to him about it. See if you, I need more space on the stage. The stage is barely big enough for my whips, and these speakers are in the way. Can we move these things? You need to just ask them, because you don't want your show to suffer. But at the same time, you need to be their friend. A lot of times they'll even count. They'll be counting the number of people in every show and writing it down, and they turn that into the fair. That's what matters to the fair board, that people wanted to see your show. People wanted to see your show. You had a proportionate amount of people that were at the fair. They were at your show, and they came to your show over and over again, and they went home and they talked about your show, and they brought some more people to the fair. More and more people are realizing they don't want an act that will entertain the people that came to the fair. They want an act that people hear about who weren't going to come to the fair, and they come to the fair, and they pay to get in to see you. That's the goal. It's hard to measure that, and you may not feel like you're doing that to start with. Just recognize that's the goal. You make those people feel good enough on their way out, they'll tell their friends about it. Come on, come to the fair with me. I want you to see this guy. That's what you want. We've established that you want your show to be snappy in the beginning, you can have some humor in the middle, or danger in the middle, and then a big finale. End with a bang. And that's also true about each individual bit in your show. Say you have a whip routine or a rope routine. At some point, and probably towards the end, you need to escalate your performance and do something heroic. Like the singer that does their concert, and at the one almost to the end of their show, they got that one song that they lean back and they squint their eyes and they hit that high note, and like it's a whole bunch of work. I went to a Tom Jones concert. There's this one song towards the end of the concert, he was hitting the high note, and then he did this fancy dance step across the stage and slid to a stop, and of course his genitals were off to the side and he had tight pants on, and the women thought that was heroic in itself. But he did that heroic thing, and everybody's looking for that heroic thing. So your show needs to end with something heroic, and each bit, towards the end of that bit, needs to end with something heroic. Like the Mexican ropers, they might be doing the Texas skip, but towards the end of that rope routine, they'll do the Texas skip. Instead of 2 spins on each side, they do 1 spin over here and come back over here for 2. It's just 2 and 1, 2, 1, 2, and it just makes it look fast, and that's heroic, and that's what people want to cheer for, and that's what you want. You want something that looks heroic compared to the rest of that bit you've done towards the end to make everything go smoothly. With rope, some people use the Texas skip, some people spin a big loop. With the whips, it'll be doing 2 hands and doing multiple cracks with both hands, fast. My show, the heroic thing at the end, is my daughter on the wheel, or my wife. Throwing those knives, those girls on the wheel, that's heroic. Shooting balloons out of the air, that's surprising, and that's heroic. That's a good ending to my show. And the ending to the horse bit is the rear up. They do all kinds of funny stuff that is much better than the rear up, but the rear up, oh my God, the horse is in the air, and if I'm on his back, that's even better. So that's the heroic thing with my horse bit. Once you've performed your heroic portion of a bit, don't repeat it. We talked about having a photograph that cuts off the ends of the audience, and people just assume that there's more audience there. Or taking a picture with just a few heads in front of you, people assume there's heads behind you. The same is true with your skills. If you conduct your routine and work up to your heroic portion and stop and accept your applause, then people think, my goodness, that guy's great. He can do all those tricks, and I'll bet he knows 100 more tricks just like that, just as exciting. They think that without even realizing that's what they're assuming. But as soon as you do your heroic spot and then do a few static tricks and repeat your heroic spot, then they know, okay, that's all he knows. He's repeating himself now, and that just tells the audience, this is all I know. I'm going to repeat this spot. Then they consciously think about it. They think, okay, there's the bookends. I mean, I was good, but that's all I know. You don't want to do that. As Wild West performers, we ride for the brand. We want everything to be successful. We want the whole place to succeed. Things will happen that interfere with your show, interfere with your concentration. Sometimes it's another act, and you're kind of, we want everyone to succeed, but sometimes we're kind of in competition with that other act because we're comparing audience sizes. We want to be bigger than they are. Sometimes that's not going to happen. The Tiger Act is going to be the best act. But sometimes the scheduling conflicts. I've worked for a promoter who schedules, my act is here, and over, 50, not 50, but probably 100 feet is the other act. And our sound systems are pointed right at each other, and we're on at the same time. It's nearly impossible to concentrate on what's going on. And you think, oh my God, how's that going to work? Well, you can go complain about it, or you can just see how it goes. If this place is packed, if it's packed jammed with people, then there's enough people to go around. You can do 2 shows at the same time. On a day when there's no one there, you don't want to go at the same time. You go to that act and talk to him. Say, I don't want to go at the same time as you. Why don't you just go at the scheduled time? And how long does your show actually take? I'll go right after that. If the schedule allows that. And if there's a Tiger Act, I don't go at the same time as the Tiger Act. If the Tiger Act is next to me, I am going to wait. I do not interfere with them. They do their show, and just about the time, just as soon as he said, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, we're the blah, 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 my music starts. And I'm out there getting ready for the show. I want their audience to come over and sit at my spot. Some acts want to start promoting their show way ahead of time. So they turn their sound system on, and it happens to be in the middle of my act, or towards the end of it when I'm trying to concentrate, throwing knives around my wife. And you have the choice to go on the Fairboard. Says that guy started his sound system in the middle of my show. There's another way to handle it. You might go to that guy. You go to that guy first. Say, you're starting your sound system in my show. I can't throw my knives. The one time I had to do this, that guy said, well, I got to promote my show. It's like, and I assured him, said, people will be there. You're starting your music way early, You've got a good show. People will come to your show. You don't have to worry about that. And he did that. So I didn't go to the Fairboard. What I did was I just did my best in my show. And if he really was breaking my concentration and it was loud, if I was thinking about him and being pissed off that he was interfering with my show, then I wasn't concentrating on my knives. So I get ready to throw my knives, and his stuff would come up, and I just shake my head and put it down, and I say, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for being here. We got another show with blah, blah, blah. And everybody in the audience knew that I could not throw my knives because of that other act. And guess what? They went to the Fairboard. I didn't have to say anything. People like to complain to the Fairboard. They see something they don't like. So if you do your best and they like you, someone's interfering with their show, those people will probably be to the fairground, and the Fairboard will be by and they'll stop what's going on. And 2 days later, this guy was coming over and says, my music was pre-recorded. I didn't even know that there was a problem, and I just wanted to make sure that I wasn't too early this time, because the Fairboard was up in his case. So there's a lot of way to handle stuff. Being the person that complains and bitches all the time is not the way to go. If you can possibly make it work the way the fair's laid it out, then make it work. And a lot of things you don't have to bother them with. With the Tigers, I didn't go to the fair and say I'm not performing next to Tigers, so I'm not doing it. I just didn't start my show till the Tigers were done. I did the same number of shows, I just didn't start. Well, I hope you have enjoyed our little discussion here. Truthfully, there's really not a lot of people that we can talk about this with, so I'm glad to talk to you about it. If you have any questions or anything to add, leave a comment. Be sure and subscribe, and after you subscribe, hit that little bell I would really appreciate it. Oh, and you might try watch one of these other videos here. If you enjoyed this one, you'll enjoy that one too. Thanks a lot. We'll see you next time.